Live from the KFDM studios, you're watching KFDM 6 News tonight at 10.
Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm Tiffany Murphy. Right now, white supremacy is the biggest security threat facing the United States. That's according to the Department of Homeland Security. Federal investigators say white supremacy eclipses all other types of extremism when it comes to the number of violent crimes. KFDM's Angel San Juan joins us tonight in the studio to tell us why hate is becoming so widespread.
Social media is making it easier for hate groups to spread propaganda and recruit new members. White supremacists targeting those who feel alone, left behind, and no longer part of mainstream America. They focus not on patriotism, but on racial superiority. Like many patriotic young men, Chris Buckley graduated high school and enlisted in the Army.
It was right after 9/11, like legit right after. And so it was kind of like it was my duty, and it was something that I just wanted to do to serve my country.
It was definitely an outward expression of love for America, but inside Buckley, there was hate that had started forming years earlier when he was a child.
I was molested by a very close family member of the same sex, and from the age of like 6 on to like 12 or 13, this continued, and I kind of formed my hatred for homosexuality at that point. You know what I mean? I looked at everybody who was a same-sex couple as the one person who harmed me.
Buckley says his parents helped him expand his hatred to other groups.
My parents were what I like to call closet racists. So like the fact that my dad was like a drug addict and an alcoholic really didn't have anything to do with the fact why he couldn't find a good job. You know what I mean? It was always the fact that the Hispanics were coming and, they were working for less, and that's why they couldn't, he couldn't get good employment. It didn't have anything to do with the fact that he was an alcoholic and unreliable and nobody wanted to hire him.
Buckley says he grew up in a poor family, and his dad would use people of other ethnicities and races as scapegoats for his failures.
I grew up hearing these things like, the reason that we didn't have a lot of money was because all the money that Dad made and all the taxes went to the blacks on, public housing and food assistance, and like just these preposterous things.
Jesus Garcia is an assistant professor of sociology at Lamar University who's looked into the radicalization process, what turns a person into a white supremacist.
It's kind of a ideology of victimization.
We learned from Dr. Garcia that what Buckley and his father were feeling, the sense of being left behind by a changing culture, is what emboldens bigotry.
That becomes the initial step into the process of radicalization, adopting the idea that, yes, indeed, whites as a group are being marginalized by the government and its policies, its liberal policies that try to create or extend opportunities to other groups that have been historically marginalized.
Buckley says his military service, which took him to Afghanistan, reinforced his racism, this time against Muslims.
From day one, from the time we get to basic training, they never referred to anybody from the Middle East as anything other than Hajis or, drill sergeants use some pretty colorful language. I'm just going to put it that way. I'm not going to say the words that were said because they are racial slurs.
Once back from overseas, Buckley joined the National Guard and was involved in an accident that broke his back. He became addicted to opioid painkillers and other drugs. As his life started to go downhill, his hatred intensified, reaching a fever pitch when he says President Obama started talking about removing Confederate statues and memorials.
I decided that I was going to look up ways to, protect the white race, and I remember I came across the Loyal White Knights of the Ku Klux Klan website.
Buckley says the KKK capitalized on his addictions and his anti-Islamic sentiments to make him a hostage of hate. Dr. Garcia says this type of recruiting is easier now and more widespread because of social media.
In the past, although these groups have always existed in small pockets and small numbers, in their respective communities, the internet allowed them to communicate and set up those networks. And of course, to amplify their belief system and their ideologies, recruit other people.
It was this moment, captured in this BBC documentary, that served as a wake-up call and led to a dramatic change of heart for Buckley.
They had a rally, and I made my son a little miniature Klan's robe.
Buckley's son, 4 years old at the time, fully robed and with a hood.
You know, I remember I looked down at him and he threw up a white power salute, and everybody was like, yeah, yeah. And like, I remembered my stomach flopped, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I am forcefully making my son inherit my hate. And I knew that it was time, like, this had to die with me.
With support from his wife and a group called Parents for Peace, Buckley's transformation began, and now this reformed racist no longer wants to divide, but unite.
We're gonna get away from the chains of slavery, racism, hatred, and we're doing it every day, man.
Buckley says he's learned he was just as addicted to hate as he was narcotics. That's why he's helped Parents for Peace set up a 12-step recovery program called Hate Anonymous and Traumanon for veterans who come back from battle and need help releasing pent-up anger and destructive thoughts.
Parents can call, family members can call, and we help to intervene, de-radicalize, and provide long-term treatment for people who suffer with these things that become radicalized or extreme.
But Buckley says there's another front to fight in the war on hate. In addition to religious discrimination and racism, there's now the partisan divide.
We've found a way to hate people that are identical to ourselves, the same religion, the same color, the same everything, because of how they identify principles. So now we're finding Republicans hating Democrats, Democrats hating Republicans, and this is like an unbridled hatred.
While Buckley's conversion is inspiring and his work to change others will continue, Dr. Garcia says white supremacy's influence on our nation remains.
It's not going to go away anytime soon. You know, we can only hope that people open up their minds and understand that this is a society of diversity. There's no going back, and even if we do go back, there was always diversity in the nation itself.
Diversity that Buckley no longer dreads, but embraces. If you want to join Buckley's efforts to prevent radicalization, violence, and extremism, you can log on to the website, parentsforpeace.org. That's parents, the number 4, peace.org. Also, if you have a loved one who might be involved in a hate group or exhibiting extreme, dangerous views, or if you yourself feel that way and are seeking help, there's a hotline, 1-844-49-PEACE. Tiffany?